The feedback you see as you sketch allows you to automatically capture geometric constraints. However, if you already have geometry created, you can add constraints manually. For example, if I want to make this angled line horizontal, all I need to do is select it and press the horizontal constraint tool on the toolbar. I can also do this in the reverse order. I'll press Escape to clear the selections and press Ctrl-Z on the keyboard to undo the constraint. This time, I'll select the horizontal constraint tool first and then select the line. Both methods give you the same result. You can also add constraints from the right-click menu. For example, to add a tangent constraint between this line and circle, I'll simply right-click and under Create Constraint, I'll click Tangent. Next, I'll select both sketch entities, and the constraint is added. Notice the tool stays active, letting me continue adding tangent constraints, but I'll press Escape on the keyboard to turn it off and return to the selection arrow. If the constraints don't appear in the graphics window, make sure you press F8 to turn them on. Or, if you're working with a sketch that has a lot of constraints cluttering the screen, you can turn them off by pressing F9. Or you can move the constraint flags out of the way by simply clicking and dragging them. If I hover the cursor over a constraint, you can see the two sketch entities that are constrained highlight. To delete the constraint, click the flag and hit the Delete key on the keyboard. This removes the flag and geometric constraint. However, you can see the endpoints of the two lines are still attached to each other. If I hover the cursor over the shared endpoint, you'll notice that another icon appears. This is the coincident constraint flag, which is hidden by default in Inventor. By clicking on this flag and again hitting Delete on the keyboard, you can see that all the constraints are now removed from this point. And if I click and drag the sketch at this point, you can see it's no longer constrained. If you want to see the constraints for particular entities, but aren't necessarily worried about all of the constraints for other parts of the sketch, there's a tool for this. I'll press F9 to turn off the constraint flags, and notice the icon on the toolbar called Show Constraints. With this tool active, you can click on the specific entities you're interested in, and the flags appear. This can be handy in situations where you can't seem to tell why a line won't move. Chances are, there's a constraint that you may not have realized was added. To delete the constraint, again, just click the flag and press Delete. Once you are finished with the tool, you can press Escape on the keyboard to turn it off. Before wrapping up, I want to mention that if at any point you want to see a description of what each of the constraints do, all you have to do is hover your cursor over the icon, and Inventor will display the name of the constraint and a description of what it does, along with a detailed example.